It's Matt at Unbearable 73. This is just me going live to talk about my Money in the Bank analysis. Did my cheap audio check. So let's see. Where do we get started? Wow, that was horrible English. Let's get the event on screen. Where are we? Windows. Okay. So we got the usual WWE spam opening. Okay, so we start off with the men's Money in the Bank match. Now, spoilers. Spoilers, obviously. Drew McIntyre wins this, right? And I mentioned all my stuff in my previous pick videos. Hayes, Andrade, Lima Venjuso, and Carmelo Hayes, they're there just for the spots, and they did some good spots. None of them have any stories that should have anyone near a title shot, which Money in the Bank would give. There's some bad camera work. Let me show you something. It's not the best angle, but one of my biggest complaints. Let's look at this. So one of my biggest complaints, you see here, it's a little blurry, but the ladder, if you go to this spot where I believe that's Carmelo Hayes, he hit with a ladder by Drew McIntyre, the ladder never actually makes contact with his head, but he acts like it does. Now, that's not a botch. If the camera were in the right spot, which is maybe 10 degrees rotated further to the left, it would look like I hit him and it'll be fine. And there's plenty of examples of that, throughout. You can see that the camera is just off. And this isn't a WWE problem. This is my big complaint about modern wrestling. It's that I don't know if they have so many wrestling events going that, they have to have a second, like lower the camera quality stand, or it's the director for not putting the camera at the right angle. Almost every match is 2 or 3 examples now, and all for the federations, where you can see that the camera angle shows them like faking the move, because they have to fake it. I don't want to hit in the face with a ladder, and it takes you out of suspension of disbelief, out of kayfabe. So that's just an example I caught. There's at least 2 or 3, and every single match this happens. There's at least 2 or 3 times. Let's go back to, and here's a nice spot, for example. Share screen, video. This is Hayes and Andrade. Again, they're there for the spots. They did that leap off the ropes, backflip onto the ladder. Now, if the camera angle were, by the way, if the camera angle were on the left side of them, like if you could see the camera over there, if they had that camera during this while they were in there, you'd see him holding his head to more to protect him rather than cause injury, so to speak. So again, good work, camera, and this is a great spot. This is the best. This is probably, in my opinion, the best spot of this match from an execution point of view. But there was some good stuff later. So let's finish talking about this match. Now, one thing I would wish, and this would have helped the women's Money in the Bank way more than it would have helped the men's Money in the Bank. Okay, like there's a type of match called a TLC match, table, ladders, and chairs, where they preset up ladders, tables, and chairs. And I think the men have enough time that they could do it fast because they can overpower the tables and whatever and the ladders. But I think it would have helped the women especially to have a bunch of that stuff set up ahead of time. So it's Money in the Bank making an actual TLC match, so to speak. So now, okay, so let's conclude that match. So I'd rate the men's Money in the Bank an 8 or 9 out of 10. Maybe, only because I get what they're doing with the Punk Drew McIntyre story. I get that, right? But it just felt. I mean, because what's going to happen later is Drew McIntyre is going to cash it in during Damian Priest match, and I'll have more discussion when I get to it there. And it just felt like it was a waste to cash it in the same night instead of the Money in the Bank could be to create interesting circumstance down the road, you know. So with that being said, maybe that would have been one reason not to give it to McIntyre, right? But anyway, that's yeah. Now I just showed you the Canadian Destroyer from the top of the ladder. I managed to find it. I can't always find it in the flexes, you know. So that's kind of what I have some more stuff to say about this when I get to the heavyweight title match. Now I got another spot. Now this is Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker. So I got another a cool example here. So this is an example of a botch or a miss. You could call either one. Where Sammy's clearly going to miss. He's basically going over the top rope to land on Braun. Either Braun was out of position or Sammy didn't go far enough. Braun recovers athletically, right? He's a great athlete and gets in position to take some of the fall from Sammy. And the camera angle here is the right camera angle to show the landing, but unfortunately, either they mistimed it or one of them botched it. But Braun Breaker does a great recovery to that testament to his professionalism and his love that he knows he has to give up the body for Sammy and does it. That's a great spot. As far as the match itself goes, let's just take a look, see anything interesting in there. So Braun Breaker here, I think he's like 28 years old. He is the next big thing in WWE or wrestling. Or right, if he doesn't get hurt and he continues developing and he doesn't do anything stupid, we'll be talking. I mean, I might not live long enough to see it, but 20 years from now, 25 years from now, we'll be talking him as like as a WWE headlining WWE Hall of Fame class. In the same line, we talk about like you might not quite be, on the level of Bruno or The Undertaker or Ric Flair, for example, which are 3 of my 4 all time. But on that next level of guys, John Cena, I would put Dusty in the top tier, but Dusty, The Rock, Stone Cold, Hulk Hogan. Braun has a chance to, based on his athletic ability, to be that guy, right? So there we go. There's someone watching out there. Welcome to the show. I'm just going over my Money in the Bank post results. I'll do it in a live format. It's easier. So let's take a little skim through on the match here. Now they did very good here. So Braun is physically superior. I mean, Braun is physically superior to Sammy in real life, right? But in the match, he's portrayed as a physical, like, max compared to Sammy being older, nowhere near as physically robust and all that, right? So they did wrestling about telling a story in the ring. And they do a great job in here of telling a story of a guy who is less skilled and experienced, but way more intense physically and capable physically versus an older veteran who is, and who can take on, who's using his experience and his skill to make up for his age and his lack of physical capacity against the other guy. These two told a great ring story. I enjoyed the match. This is Ric Flair after he turned 35 or so. Used to be great at this style of match where those young, especially because after the mid 80s on is when all the wrestlers started weightlifting and all became jacked and whatever. There were only a couple really before that. It was like Jesse the Body, for example, or Hogan were notable exceptions to the rule. Whereas it became normal after 85 for wrestlers to be to bodybuild, so to speak. And so Flair became great at this type of match where he could, the veteran, the older, weaker, smaller veteran against the younger stud and in the match. And this was a really good match. I enjoyed it for the storytelling aspect. it was a little predictable in terms of the actual wrestling, but I enjoyed the storytelling aspect of the match, the story they told in the ring. So this is maybe a 8 out of 10, and it's too soon for Braun to get this title. Especially since everyone thinks that Sammy's going to be on for a couple months before they go. So everyone is feeling Sammy's going to get a little run here because this is Sammy's last run, so to speak. Maybe that he's going to retire at the end of the year or whatever, but he's been given some real life interview notes that his body's starting to hurt him and catch up, and not, and he's at an age where and especially even though he's only like 40 years old or whatever. I don't think he's 45 yet. He and Kevin Owens were in the Indies since like 2004. He was El Generico, and they did a lot of heavy body damaging matches. So I could see why his body is breaking down on him a little bit. So this might be Sammy's last significant run, and that's why they might let him have this title for a while. So there's that. Okay, let's go on to the next match, which that's it was Cena's retirement speech, and we all figured that was coming. Cena's dead, full in Hollywood. He's middle-aged, still in great shape, and probably could still do a Legends match once in a while. As he said, and he wants to put someone over at WrestleMania. So who could that be? We'll probably talk about that on either, Wednesday Nights Overbooked or on my shows. I don't know. He could put over Braun Breaker. That would be great. I'm just thinking right now, looking at the screen, But we'll see. So on to the match. So now we get to the match that. So we have Damian Priest versus Seth Rollins. I'll tell you ahead of time. Near the end, that Drew's going to run out there and try to cash some money in the bank, and they're going to turn it into a three-way match, which means there are no rules, the hardcore, blah blah blah, whatever. Outside interference allowed. Okay, so the match itself between Damian Priest and Seth Rollins was good. It was probably the least best match of all five of them. They had some nice moments. They did some good work, good timing. They showcased Damian Priest's like martial arts background fairly well with some well-timed martial arts kicks and stuff going on. And it's basically they're putting Punk, Rollins, and McIntyre into a sort of collision course, right? And there's a Hell in a Cell. Joker Boys thinks going to want a Hell in a Cell. I would love to see a three-way Hell in a Cell between these guys. That would be interesting. Maybe even a four if we get someone else involved in that match. But anyway, so why did they use the Money in the Bank here? Okay. Well, they had to take it out of play because technically the Money in the Bank could be used for any title. I mean, like McIntyre could challenge for the women's title under the way the rules are set up, right? Obviously not going to do that. So I think they wanted to do the Punk McIntyre storyline and take the Money in the Bank off the table because then realistically, the only two titles you go for with Money in the Bank are the Universal title or the Heavyweight title. And the only other way they could have done this is if Punk somehow got the Intercontinental title before this happened, then McIntyre could pursue Punk via the Money in the Bank, right? So that would have been the only alternative here. So they had to get off the table because there's no chance of McIntyre being allowed to take either of the two titles based on Gunther and Cody, right? Which is kind of sad because Drew McIntyre is a really good villain. And that's the other thing to talk about here, okay? They originally, when they started this program, they wanted McIntyre to be the face and Punk to be the heel. And both can do face and heel work. But right now, this is the phenomenon. You also, if you watch AEW, when MJF came back from injury, the same thing happened, right? So he comes back, and despite the fact that he's a well-known heel, that probably 85% of the time MJF is a heel, the crowd pops for him, they cheer everything he says and does, even though he's healing it up a little on his initial promo, they're still cheering and going crazy for it. Again, Punk is like that now. So he comes out initially with this thing with McIntyre, dropping some heel line, doing some heel work. But the crowd, go Punk, get him. They're cheering like crazy for him to just win. And it took them, I think, 2 or 3 events, SmackDowns and Raws and all that, to figure out the crowd was not going to go heel, was not going to let Punk heel turn. So they decided to shift McIntyre into the heel role, okay? And both can do great heels, and both can do really good bases. So now they're in a natural role where McIntyre is furious. He's doing the dark stuff at heel. Punk is chasing him. He's angry. It's the angry face. And we'll see how far this goes. Hell in a Cell, like Joker was, I think that's right. I do have some other notes here. Rollins looks strong in this match. You can see he's still working himself back in the top shape from his injury. There was some more shoddy camera work, like I said, in all the matches. Like another pet peeve with the shoddy camera work. So, and it's also lazy wrestling, right? So when a wrestler's going to go for like a splash or something off the top rope, the guy on the ground has to be in a certain position to take the move to minimize injury, right? And what you're supposed to do is you run over if you're going to do the move, you fake punching a few times, you put him in position yourself, then you go up to the rope. But now guys are going right to the top of the rope, and the guy on the ground has to sort of crawl himself into position. Or they also do it with the corner. Like it's very irritating when you see the wrestler crawl into the corner all the time, and you see the other wrestler waiting in the corner to do their charge. So it's some the camera work shouldn't show them doing that, and they shouldn't be. And the other wrestler also should stop being lazy, and they should position better. Okay, so again, that's my pet peeve there. The crowd was really popping tonight. Well, during Cena's speech, plus when moves were happening, they weren't really like it wasn't a continuous roar from the crowd. It did pick up when the Bloodline match happened because there was some continuous chants back then on that one. Though, of course, we have to talk about the botch. If I can catch, I don't know if I can catch it on timing. Sometimes they are just obsessed with it. And so we could all look at it too. So this match, I would say you can divide into 3 parts. Early on, the middle, and the end. The early part of the match, obviously you can divide that. Duh. The early match was bad. There was mistimings and botches. I don't want to say Lyra Valkyria is not a good wrestler, but she's good. She can do matches. But how do I put it? I don't think she was ready for the level of performance needed in this match. Okay? I think that was the big problem here. So there's a lot of timing stuff that has to go off, and there's some you have to take some bumps you don't normally take. And I think maybe she was nervous, and that threw her timing off. That's kind of what I think happened, right? Now, so the first good match when we know we're training to the second part. The second part was about getting the match back in order, getting the crowd back into it, right? And Naomi deserves credit for that. Okay, I think she saw that an Io Sky covered for Lyra Valkyria on a couple of moves, and then I think Naomi saw that the several botches and mistimings, the crowd was getting out of it. So she runs over. I think she did an audible, so to speak. Veteran, knows what she's doing. We can criticize Naomi for a stupid finish all we want, but anyway, and does a couple of no complication, hard looking moves like that split-legged like crusher thing on the ladder. She probably has bruises from that, or she gets his 3 or 4 of those moves in a row. The crowd starts popping a little again, and the sort of quietness goes away. So she deserves credit for getting it back on course in that one particular thing. Okay. Now, the star of the match was Zoe Stark. Okay. And when I give my awards at the end, 2 of them, well, Zoe Stark is the performer of the night, and the end of this, if I can time it, I was surprised. Now, obviously, the women can't take the bumps the way the men do, okay? And well, except for some of the bigger women. I mean, Awesome Kong has taken some serious bumps. Piper in our independent days, serious bumps. So they're bigger women who could take some real bumps. But obviously, they don't have the body, the physical damage absorption capacity, their ability to go through like 4 tables and to fall off the top of the ladder to the floor and all that crazy stuff that happened in the men's matches. Fine, I'm not going crazy over it. And of course, winning is Tiffy. Joker predicted this. This is the most likely outcome. Her, or if not her, then Io Sky. She had. So we'll see where the storylines go. So let's. What else? So Io Sky, ladder pile driver of Zoe Stark, move of the night. Zoe Stark is the performer of the night. She was gold to this entire match. Okay. Now let's go on to the blood. And where is it going to go from here? Well, let's see. Our women's title, WD women's titles, WWE women title holders. So they have Liv's belt and so is Tiffy going to get Liv's belt? They're talking of introducing a women intercontinental title. We'll have to see where this goes, right? Is there a women's universal champion? Current WWE women's champ. So we have Bayley and we have Liv. So the question is, which one is a Tiffy going to get? It is most likely going to be Bayley's because Liv is going back to Rhea Ripley. She most likely. So that's the analysis on that. And let's get on to the last match. I've been going here for why not in they're up there. I've been going here for like 20 minutes already. So let's get the last match. So now we have what to me is the match of the night. Funny enough, at the beginning of the women's match had not been that botch / mistiming fest, this match would have been as good as this men's match at the end, the Bloodline versus Team Cody. So take that for what you will. Now, I think based on the in-ring dynamics, there's a lead-in, more lead-in. Now, obviously, this is just step 6 in the war between Solo's Bloodline and Team Cody. So where do we go from here? So the Bloodline had to win this. They had to look strong. I would like them to book Tanga Loa, Tama Tonga, and Jacob Fatu in singles matches. Let them beat some lower tier wrestlers, mid-carders. Good matches for the most part. Maybe one or two squashes to make them look strong. Because right now they're going by their rep from previous federations. It's only get them so far. Okay. Now, as far as helpers for Cody, okay, here's the interesting thing. All the indications are that Dustin Rhodes' contract is up at the end of sometime this year, and there are indications he wants to finish his career with his brother. Okay, so a very good chance that Dustin comes back sometime by the end of this year to be Cody's backup, so to speak, and because they always play on the fact that in Cody's theme, there are other families in wrestling. And Cody has other relatives who are wrestlers. His godfather's Magnum TA. There's a whole slew of guys. Maybe they have some kids in wrestling. I don't know. The point I'm getting is, I wouldn't be surprised if Dusty Rhodes' contract really is up. He comes back for one little short run in WWE. He doesn't want to retire. He's a bit older than Cody. To be Cody's backup for the next maybe half year or a year, and then retires. So there's that aspect of it. Roman should be back soon. Solo has real heat. I almost wish they'd give Solo a title. He has so much heat. I mean, what title could you give him? Intercontinental is a possibility. What else is out there? But he's generating real heat. The fans really hate him in a good way, And also the funniest moment of the night, As soon as I saw the Prime Hydration bottle, I said Kevin Owens can hit some motherfucker with that thing, and he did. So there's that. So my awards, I said Io Sky, a ladder pile driver, Zoe Stark, move of the night. Zoe Stark is the performer of the night. Match of the night, Team Cody versus the Bloodline. And the funniest moment was Kevin Owens nailing someone with the Prime Hydration giant bottle. And my criticism is there's too much lazy wrestling. I mentioned it before where the wrestlers don't position their opponents for their moves anymore. They just run up there and the guy has to move, put himself in a position for the move. They got to stop the lazy wrestling. And the other criticism is we got to fix the camera angles, guys. We got to fix it. I know only the 5 people out there who are going to hear this, are like my friends and whatever. But someone, if you're bigger than me and you hear this, tell them we got to fix the camera angles and stop the lazy wrestling. Anyway, those are my thoughts on WWE Money in the Bank. I hope you all have a great night, and talk to you all on Wednesday. Wednesday is overbooked. Then I have my Friday stream at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Friday Pandemonium. I'll be on Roman Empire on Thursdays and some other stuff between here and there. I am out of here.